If morale on your team or in your life feels a little bit like this, or this, or this video will both give you a boost and will also equip you with some really practical ideas and strategies and 2 specific activities to boost morale in your sphere. First really practical tip to boost morale is don't. Maybe you can't actually boost someone else's morale. What I can tell you is it sometimes feels really good to be just seen and heard as having low morale without trying to fix it, without trying to wash over it, etc. I've heard a lot of my clients say things in meetings like, I know we're all really exhausted, but ... And then they fill in whatever's happening next, whatever's going on. I know we're all really exhausted, but the word but negates anything that came before it. Imagine I come home and my wonderful, amazing, beautiful wife, Kate, looks at me and says, hey Chad, I love you, but you didn't do the dishes. That but immediately negates the I love you, and really the message is you just aren't enough, right? You just didn't do the dishes, you just didn't do, etc. Now, Kate doesn't say that to me because she's a wonderful, amazing, beautiful wife. The idea is anytime you hear the word but, it negates what's before. So when you acknowledge someone's exhaustion or tired or burnt out in this, and then you follow it up with a literal, the word but, or an implied but, you might as well have not, you haven't seen them, right? You haven't actually really heard them or seen them. So a really concrete way to get a reality check is Vistage. If you're not familiar, it's a CEO peer group where leaders get together to just get better. And one of the things at most Vistage meetings, you walk in, there's a T-chart on a flip chart, or someone's asked you to check in on a scale of 1 to 10. How are you doing personally? And how are you doing professionally? On a scale of 1 to 10. And you just see a bunch of numbers. So you got 12 leaders walk in, you got 12 numbers on each spectrum. There's just some power of acknowledging, right now I'm a 5 personally, like home is really tough, and work is a 9, and there's a disconnect between that. We don't need to fix it, we don't need to change it, we don't need to edit the numbers. It just is what it is, and there's power in just stating that. One of my mentors, Eric Tyler, likes to say that once you say something, half the power leaves it. Once you say something, you can almost feel this like diffusion. But if you add a but in, it negates that diffusion, it undoes all of that good work. Going it alone is a morale destroyer. When somebody is struggling, when somebody's a 5 at home for a month straight, but work and the energy of work is a 9, right? It erodes someone's will and motivation to really engage and participate. And so literally just by helping them not go it alone, you might be able to boost morale. It's why I'm so adamant about connection before content and asking powerful questions, because it makes less people alone, or it makes less moments alone. Here's a perfect example. I just got back from facilitating a program, and Will Wise, who if you've been watching my videos knows my co-founder and co-author, passed away in November. One of the things that one of the pieces of feedback that Will would always get whenever we were leading a workshop together or speaking together is somebody would come up to him and say, wow, like I just felt really seen and heard. And I would get feedback of like, thanks for energizing us, such useful content, whatever, but I wouldn't get that feedback. And I always wondered, like, how did Will get that feedback? In fact, when he passed away, I got dozens and dozens of messages of people who had one single conversation with Will, and they wrote to me and said, in that conversation was the time that I have felt most seen and heard in my life. Right? That's pretty powerful. It's really motivating. So anyway, I just got back from leading a workshop, and this participant came up afterward and said, I want you to know how much I appreciate how deliberate you were in really showing us that you heard us and saw us and got us. It was like, such powerful feedback, because while I strived for that, it's not necessarily the impact or result that I would often create. And I asked myself, like, how did that happen? And I often asked, how did Will actually create that impact or create that feedback? And I realized it. I know now. It was his intent. His intent was to really see and hear someone. I showed up to that event saying, if nothing else, I want people to really feel like I've got them, right? Like I really see them. And so tying this all to morale is, if the group is really low in morale, what if your intent is to really see them? Not like, okay, yeah, I got you, you're burnt out, you're exhausted, you're low morale, everybody is. Like, no, really, can you see them because I do believe that our entire world is created through our speaking and our listening. And so they're burnt out with the world that they're in right now, but the world that they're in right now is largely made up and comprised of speaking and listening. And so what you say and how you hear people actually changes the world that people are in, right? A choice of words is often a choice of worlds. Now, all that said, I got a little bit philosophical there. 2 really concrete activities that you can do to boost morale or potentially invite people to engage in a dialogue that boosts their own morale. One I'm gonna call new news. So this is kind of a play on the fact that if you turn on the actual news, it's like 95% super depressing, negative, problem-focused, sensationalized, etc. So the idea here is just to balance that out. I'd love to create our own news stories with good news. And to help us do that, I've got a question, and I'd love to just split off into breakouts and just share our own response to this question. Your response will be the news story, so to speak. And this is where, as a leader or facilitator, you get total choice over what question you ask. A couple easy ones. There's a lot of really good ones in the green cards in the deck of We Connect cards, if you have these. So something like, what is something kind that someone else has done for you recently, right? If everybody were to answer that, creates a bunch of lovely stories. Could be, what has been the highlight of your week so far, right? Really simple. Second exercise I'm gonna call Goldmine of Goodness. And the idea is sometimes in conversation with people, I realize like somebody says something that's just like, oh my goodness, like that is just a goldmine of goodness right there. And so the idea here is for people to think back on the conversations they've been having or what they've been reading, watching, consuming, etc., and pick out one little golden gem to share with the group. This is, for me, different than the new news, because new news is like, these questions are really personal, right? They're gonna be personal stories that are coming out. The goldmine of goodness is more of an idea place. There's an Eleanor Roosevelt quote that I'm gonna butcher unless I read it. Great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. So the idea of goldmine of goodness is that you're in the idea place, right? So it's pick out a goldmine or an idea that you've recently discovered. And if you feel like your group's gonna have struggle answering that because they haven't been being very inspired because they're burnt out and they have low morale, invite them to go find it. So give a topic related to your meeting and say, for 5 minutes, Google with the intention to find some little golden nugget, idea, factoid, find something that's gonna be relevant that the group will really appreciate and bring it back to share. You might even send people into breakouts of 1 person per breakout, literally just them, to spend 5 minutes searching and then bring everybody back together to popcorn out if you're meeting remotely. This was just the tip of the iceberg, but if you liked it, you're gonna love this video on how to motivate virtual teams. Totally relevant to in-person or hybrid teams as well. Enjoy, have an awesome day.